The stars that we made in the last part of our course were made from ready-made presets available in Corel. Press F2 and select an area you want to zoom. Switch to the Star tool and draw a star. When we draw a figure without holding Control, the figure will be created disproportionately. Go to the control bar and change the number of points to 14. Change the sharpness value to 13. We can also switch to the Shape tool and move one of these points to edit the sharpness. We can't, however, do that in the figure if it would be converted to curves. Remember about this, as it may come in handy later on. After converting the figure to curves, this object changes from a star figure to a closed curved path. Well, let's say that we need a non-standard star for this project, and leave the object as it is. Change the outline colour to red. Now go to the control bar and change the width of the outline. As you can see, the outline is measured in points. 1 point is the equivalent to 0.35 millimeters. So where we can change units in which the outline is measured? Well, go to the Outline Pen tool menu and click on Outline Pen. Expand this drop-down list. Here we can change the units. When we change the units here, the Quick Access option on the control bar also changes. Change the units to millimeters and click OK. Let's change the outline weight to 2.5 mil. Let's now look at how the outline reacts to changing its weight. Zoom in on the figure. Our figure is constructed from straight lines only. We don't have any curved lines here. As you can see, the outline on some of the objects, such as the spike, seems to be cut off. The outline is placed at the middle of our object's path. So why are these elements cut off? Let's have a little experiment. Switch to the Pick tool and duplicate this object. Let's now try to edit the path to the object. Switch to the Move tool and drag this point. Change its position and look how the outline changes. As you can see, the decisive role here plays the angle between the two line segments. If it's too big, the pointy outline head will be cut off. Let's see if there's anything else we can do to work around this. Go to Outline Pen tool menu and click on Outline Pen. This window contains all options responsible for the outline look. Let's first talk about these two options right here. Activate Behind Fill option and click OK. As you can see, the outline was moved behind the fill colour. Go to Outline Pen again, deactivate the Behind Fill option, activate Scale with Object option and click OK. Try to scale the object now. As you can see, the outline can be scaled along with the figure. When this option is deactivated, scaling the path doesn't affect the size of the outline. Go to Outline Pen options again. Let's now talk about corners. We can choose from 3 types of corners. Let's choose the second one and click OK. The downside of changing these options is that to see the effect, we need to click OK and close the options window. Go to Outline Pen options, change the corners type to the third one and click OK. Go to Outline Pen tool options again. Since we previously said the reason for cutting off parts of the outline is the angle, let's change the Mitre Limit option. Let's change it to 0 degrees and click OK. As you can see, this worked. Now the outline looks much better. Switch to Shape tool and select all nodes. Go to the control bar and convert the selected nodes to symmetrical nodes. The figure now looks completely different, although we've just changed the type of the nodes. The path will now also react differently when we edit it. Press Ctrl Z twice to undo the changes and go to Outline Pen tool options again. Well, now we know how most of these options work. Down here we have the Behind Fill and Scale with Objects option. On the left we have 3 corner types. In the upper right part of this window we can choose the arrow parts of our outline. The last part is the Style drop-down list, where we can choose various types of outline. We can have dotted line, a line constructed out of rectangles. As you can see, there are plenty of presets to choose from. Change the style to standard and click OK. Select the extra figure and delete it. Select the figure and let's change the weight of its outline. Let's change it to 1.5mm. Go to Outline Pen Options, go to Corners section and choose the second corner type. Click OK to accept the changes. This figure is now ready. Let's now create a text. Switch to the Text tool and click once to start creating artistic text. Write Book First, Get Best. Switch to the Pick tool, make the text bold and change its fill colour to red. Let's downscale the text a little. We need it to fit inside the figure we've just made. Let's talk about full colours. What CMYK values does the full red colour have? Go to Uniform Fill window and switch to the Models tab. As you can see, we can say that the colour is full when its CMYK values are set to either 0 or to 100. Close this window. Move the text over the star figure, click the text for a second time to activate the rotation points. Rotate the text and click on the side to deselect it. Select the yellow figure and change its outline weight to 1mm. Select both objects. Go to Arrange menu and click Group. Let's remember that when we want to select one specific element from a group, we need to hold Ctrl and click on it. As you can see, the transformation points are now round. Press Shift and F4 and fit the page on the screen. Now create paragraph text. Most of the time we just use the import feature and place the ready-made text inside our document. This time, however, we'll input the hotel names manually. Switch to Text tool and draw a paragraph text box. Write Pavannar Hotel. And switch to Pick tool. Move the text box over the first section. Now downscale the box and make it fit in the section. Make it fit in the space between the guideline and the blue rectangle. Use the transformation points to change the size of the text box if you need to. Of course, we can just change the height of this text box into a specific number. Change it to 10mm and press Enter. Well, we haven't deactivated the proportions lock. Press Ctrl Z to deactivate the lock. Change the height to 10mm and press Enter. Switch to Text tool. Now click on the text to deselect it and center it. Let's now talk about how we can center the text vertically inside a text box. When it comes to the paragraph text, this option is the prosperity of the text itself. Go to the Text menu and click on Text Properties. As you can see, Text Properties Docker appeared on the right. This docker has 3 sections: Character, Paragraph and Frame. This docker is a novelty when it was introduced in Corel X6. The first section allows us to change the formatting of our text. We won't use the character section for now. We need to find the option which will allow us to center the text vertically. Before we move on, let's collapse each of the sections inside the Text Properties docker. Let's listen to our intuition and expand the frame section. In most other programs, the vertical alignment for the text box is placed here. As you can see, the second icon is responsible for the vertical alignment of the text inside a box. Expand the vertical alignment list and try out different options. Let's click on the Center Vertically alignment. Now we know how to center the text vertically inside a text box. Let's now select this text and expand the character section of the docker. I'll now change the color and the font of this text. The quickest way to change the font type is to expand the font type drop-down list placed on the control bar. When we scroll through these font types, the program automatically shows us a preview of each font. Let's choose Embassy BT font. Now we'll change the size of our text. Let's change it to 18 points. Now, align the text to the left. Let's go back to the text properties docker for a while. Change the fill colour of the text to brown. As you can see, this font type can't be made bold. Instead, let's make the text bigger. Change the font size to 20 points and press enter. Now we'll create an indent for this text. Instead of just pressing space, we'll use one of the options from the text properties docker. Collapse the character section and expand the paragraph section. Right here we can change the size of the distance between the first line of the text and the border of the text. Although we have only one line, let's use the first line indent. Change the first line indent to 4 mm and press enter. Minimize the text properties docker. Now switch to the pick tool. Press F3 to zoom out. Press H to switch to pan tool and move the visible area of our document. Press space to switch back to the pick tool. Now press F2 and select an area to zoom. Of course, we can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. If we would have a tablet, there would be even more ways to zoom in and out. Switch to pick tool and duplicate the hotel name 3 times. Place each copy in their appropriate sections. Switch to the text tool and change the second hotel name to Avinda Hotel. Scroll down and change the last section of a project. Switch to text tool, click twice on the text to edit it and change it to Kralis Beach Hotel. Press Shift and F4 to zoom out. Let's move to the next element. We'll now create a price tag. We'll create this element once and duplicate it and place the copies in other sections. Switch to Rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. Change the fill colour to purple and set the outline to none. Press F3 to zoom out and look at the rectangle to make sure it's not too big. If it looks good, so now let's duplicate it 2 more times. Zoom in and switch to text tool. Click once to start creating artistic text. Write price and change the fill colour of the text to yellow. Duplicate the text and move the copy down. Change the copy text into from £95 per person. Switch to pick tool and downscale this text. Right now, both these elements are completely separate. They're not grouped and they're not inside the same text box. Make the price text smaller and place both these texts inside the rectangle. Switch to Shape tool and drag the text by the last point to make the spacing between the letters bigger. We can also gain the exact same effect using the text properties docker. Drag this point and observe which value changes the docker. Right here we have character spacing value. Let's change it to 100% and press enter. Let's now change it to 0 and press enter. As you can see, 0% is the default setting for the character spacing. Still, the easiest way to change the character spacing is to just use the Shape tool. We now need to group these 3 elements together. Before we do this, first, let's align these elements. Select all 3 objects, activate the Align and Distribute docker, and click on Align Center Horizontally icon. Select only the yellow text, go to Arrange menu and click on Group. Select both elements, this means the group and the rectangle. Go to Align and Distribute docker and click on Align Center Vertically icon. Select both elements, then go to Arrange menu and click on Group. The price tag is ready. We now need to duplicate it and place it correctly. Press Shift and F4. Move the empty rectangle to the side and move the price tag in its place. Now, duplicate this price tag 2 times and place the copies in the remaining sections. We now need to change the price of each of these elements. What's interesting is that we don't need to ungroup this object to change the text. Switch to the text tool and click on text. Change the price to 98 pp. So when we have a text grouped with other objects, we don't have to ungroup them to edit it. Scroll up and change the price of the second hotel to 122 pp. As you can see, there's no problem in editing the text inside a group. We don't have to destroy these groups. We just edit one of its elements. As you can see, the transformation points are round. This tells us that we're editing an object that is part of a group. Press Shift and F4 and now create a text box. Select the text tool and draw a text box as big as the first section. We'll now import a ready-made text inside the frame. We can either use the import feature or copy the text from Notepad and paste it right into the text box. There are 2 ways in which we can change the features of the whole text. First is to place the cursor inside the text and press Ctrl A. The second is to switch to Pick tool and select the text box. You can change the font size without selecting the text itself. Change the font size to 12 points. Let's now move the price tag to the front. Select the price tag, go to Arrange menu, then Order and click on to Front of Layer. Click on the price tag with the right mouse button and select Wrap Paragraph Text option. Let's now look at the wrapping options. Click on the price tag with the right mouse button. Go down and click on Object Properties. As you can see, Object Properties Docker appeared on the right. If you scroll through it, you will see that it contains many useful options which we can modify the selected object with. Up here we have several tabs, including Internet tab. What we need to do now is to look for a parameter that regulates the text wrapping effect. Switch to the first tab and collapse all these sections. Now, go to Summary section. Right here we have options that regulate the wrapping effect. Let's change it to 0 mm and press Enter. As you can see, the text is now placed over the price tag. Let's scroll up to see this effect better. Press H and move the document's visible area up. Place the price tag at the centre of the text box. Expand this drop-down list. Here we have various options of wrapping the text around this object. Try out these options to see how the text will look. We can now clearly see the effect of each of these options. Let's change the text wrapping type to square, straddle text, and place the price tag at the bottom right corner of the section. Let's close the Object Properties Docker and press Shift and F4. Let's import the text for the second and third hotel. The text wrapping option was initially set to 0 mm, so let's change it for the second and third price tag. Click on the second price tag with the right mouse button and select Object Properties option. We don't have to activate this palette each time we want to change some objects. We can just leave it here and switch between the objects by clicking on them. Click on the second price tag and change the text wrapping type to square, straddle text. Select the third price tag and change the text wrapping also to square, straddle text. Let's now copy the text into the appropriate sections. Duplicate the first text box twice and place the copies into sections 2 and 3. Now press Ctrl and S. Press Shift and F4. We already know how to create the first line indent, so let's edit 3 paragraph texts. Zoom in on the first text. Go to Text Properties Docker. Then we use these dockers. We should collapse all the sections we don't need to keep only one section expanded. This way it will be much easier to use these options. Select the text and go to Paragraph section. change the indent to 2 mm and press enter. The second option, placed right here, regulates the space between the text and the left side of the text box. Let's change it to 2 mm. As you can see, the text moved the same position as the first line indent. Let's change the first line indent to 4 mm and press enter. As you can see, the first line indent is measured not from the beginning of the text, but from the text box side. So now we know the difference between the first line indent and the left indent. Press Ctrl and S to save the document and Shift and F4 to fit the page on the screen.